Why the subsistence until now in the 21st century of the old religions and religions which do not give salvation because they do not give Christ? Why are there still animists like at the time of the Palaeolithic? That is to say, people who think that there is a paradise, a meadow, where animals and man will live together for eternity? Why the Islam, which is inferior in the relation to God, since for a Catholic it allows only a relationship of servant? And Jesus said, I no longer call you my servants, but my friends. Why is Judaism still waiting for the coming of the Messiah when he has already come? All of these questions are answered in God's will to lead all men to salvation. It seems weird. It seems the opposite. Jesus announces, one day there will be only one pastor, one flock, but it will happen when Christ returns. It cannot happen until he returns for a simple reason. Man is subject to his flesh, and his flesh is political, so that if there is only one religion or one wisdom, for example, it was the wisdom of the freedom during the French Revolution, of tolerance, or the religion of the love of God by Christ, when it becomes powerful in the Middle Ages, in both cases we find that men begin to kill to impose tolerance and to impose the love of God. It seems contradictory. This is how it is seen. The first genocide of modern times is the French Revolution in Vendée in the name of tolerance. Result, as long as we are on earth, God allows there to be several religions. Certainly unity is not achieved, but humility is there, and the Tower of Babel syndrome does not come. Second reason, the fact that, as Vatican II shows, all the paths through which our ancestors passed in are present on earth as testimonies, not as paths of perdition, not as paths that give salvation. It is neither. Vatican II in the Constitution Nostra Aetate shows it. There are seeds of truth. That is to say, preparations that God has put in all religions. These seeds are more or less distant. For example, in Buddhism, where one does not believe in the existence of a God, we still believe in compassion, and we believe that you have to get out of your own selfish desires to get salvation. It's a preparation all the same. And so when Buddhists arrive at the hour of death, when they see Christ blessing them for this work they have done in them, they love him. They enter the gospel easily. In Islam, for example, there is the refusal of a love of God, of friendship, but there is all the same the will to be made servant of God, humble servant subjected to his will, and therefore if Muslims practice Islam with humility when God appears to them at the hour of death, by proposing to them to become friends, they don't refuse, they become Christians. This is the wisdom of God, therefore a provisional division for humility, and one day there will be one flock, one pastor. The only ones who will escape this flock will do so voluntarily, because of a blasphemy against the Holy Spirit, because God does not force anyone to love him. And so those who at the time of death will refuse his gospel will do so freely and will put themselves in a place that Catholics call hell, but which is in fact the paradise of the proud, the exaltation of the love of self pushed to contempt for God and neighbor with all the suffering that goes with it. An empty heart, a vain life, but they stay there because it is their pride.